Hello, Virgo, and welcome to Indigo Rising Tarot. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope you're having a great day. This will be your weekly reading for the week of June 21st through the 27th. And during that time, we have a first quarter moon that comes in on the 23rd, and that can be kind of like a full moon where you feel impulsive and patient. Your mind might be a little bit active, and it's just hard to get things accomplished. So if that's the case, you can either learn to control and dominate those impulses, or you can just take an easy day that day. So decide what you want to do, maybe in advance, and just do that. We then have the waxing gibbous energy that comes in for the rest of the week. That is a time for a deeper understanding. And it's time for us to buckle down and, back to work on those things that we started during the new moon, but have the ability to show that we can be flexible and make adjustments where they're required. So please keep those moon energies in mind as we move through the week. Oh, we also have the solstice this week on the 21st. So I forgot to mention that. If there's a place that you can find to go do a celebration of that or observe it in some way, then certainly do that. All right, let's get into this reading. Virgo, June 21st through the 27th. Your overall message for this reading is that confidence is your key to success. And Leo just had, oh, no, maybe they didn't have that card. Never mind. They had a card very similar, but not that one. Anyway, as I'm shuffling the tarot, my fun weekly reminder for you, Virgo, is that you keep a spiritual journal. So many times as we're learning spiritual things, we just forget about them. And, or I do, if you're like me, if I don't write it down, sometimes it's just gone forever. But keeping a spiritual journal, this would be things like dreams that you're having, maybe synchronistic things that are happening, numbers that you're encountering. It's just good to be able to go back and look through that and say, oh, here's where I've been, and I applied this thing and it's working out well. Or I learned this and I forgot to apply this thing, and let me remind myself to do that again. So it's just a really good tool to have as you're kind of moving through your spiritual life. So that is my fun weekly reminder for you, is that you keep a spiritual journal. All right, let's get into this reading. We've got Virgo. Well, we've got cards. That's too many at once. Cards are flipping out here. Virgo, June 21st through the 27th. Confidence is your key to success. That card is trying to come out. We will take it. Your present situation is the Knight of Wands. So if it's confidence you need, the Knight of Wands has that. The Knight of Wands moves forward and takes action on the things that he's passionate about. So whatever that is for you, I would see this as the Knight of Wands is not afraid to approach someone if you're single. The Knight of Wands is not afraid to approach someone if you're in a couple either. So, or to approach someone that, if there's something that you find that you're passionate about, to approach the leader of a club that you want to be in, or just whatever it might be that you're feeling some passion for, that you want to be involved in. It could be anything under the sun, but you're going to confidently go right into that, and you've got the confidence is your key to success there. Your current situation is the Two of Swords. So there's something here that you are trying to make a decision about, but you're thinking it through. And it could be something related to something that you're passionate about, or splitting the time between two things that you're passionate about, right? This could be, let's say that you're into golf, but you also love tennis, and you don't know what they both take up a lot of time. Do you want to devote more to one than the other? And that's just an example of just two things that are very time consuming that would be kind of hard to keep up with your regular life. So, if there's something that's going on there, sometimes you have to put a little something on the back burner to really focus on one other thing. At the root of your situation here is the King of Pentacles. So, you come to all of this with an understanding of, material things, financial things. The king knows what's going on, and not only with themselves, but also with everyone around them as well. And at least has a really good understanding. So, is this a situation where you can throw money at the situation? Perhaps, maybe, or maybe not. Maybe that's a way that you have dealt with things, but it's still, money doesn't buy any of us time. I don't care really how much money so, or maybe it does. I don't know. Maybe you throw money at a thing that is taking up some of your time, that's keeping you from one of those passions. That's a way to do it. So think about that, and think about how your understanding of the material and financial world can help you maybe get closer to a decision there. What is in your recent past here is the Ace of Pentacles. So this is definitely a new financial opportunity that comes in. And maybe that is something that you're juggling as well. I mean, this could just be about juggling your passion that you're very passionate about with these things that are bringing money, with work, right? And you have to be able to give enough time to everything, have that balance, that work life balance that we're always talking about, that you have to do the things that bring in those coins, but you want to have some sort of something or time to spend on the things that you're very passionate about as well. What is on your mind this week is the Empress. So you might be thinking about some sort of long-term decision that maybe, and maybe struggling with a long-term decision. The Empress is the most creative, our creative female in the deck. And she can be indicative of things like starting a family. So, thinking about having children or, sometimes starting a life with someone. That's something that she can be indicative. Long-term decisions that are creatively based, but not something that you enter into lightly. That's the Empress. So, where the Empress is about birthing a child, and that goes on for how many years, right? Raising of a child. She would also be, it's like buying a new home that you're going to be in for years to come, taking on a job that you might be in for years to come, some sort of career path. So it's on your mind, do you or not want to enter into something that is going to be a long term commitment? What is just ahead of you this week is the Nine of Wands. So you're also kind of looking back. We call this our wounded warrior. It's like you're looking back over your life, looking at the decisions that you made, would I do this differently? What was a good decision? What was a bad decision? So as you're mulling this decision, of course, you're doing kind of a little retrospective on things to see like, where have I been? And how does it affect where I'm going? So pay attention to that. In your advice position is the Nine of Swords. So we've got two nines on the table. And yeah, you're kind of fretting. This is a big decision for you. And there are going to be sleepless nights. And I feel like the advice is just know that. Know that this is a stressful decision, whatever it is for you. Again, confidence is your key to success, but there's really something big on the table for you to make a decision here about. But there is passion and fire behind it. And look at we've got, well, we do have pentacles too, but wands and swords, that's air and fire. So things are kind of, that's combustible. That's that when you add oxygen to a fire, it just makes it bigger. So, you don't want to make any decisions until you think everything through, but it is kind of stressful. Take a breath, make sure that you're at least journaling. Like I said, a spiritual journal is a good thing, but just regular writing and journaling, pros and cons when you're in such a big decision making place. All right, what is beyond your control this week is the Hermit card, of course. I did have this one also in the Leo reading. If you have a Leo in your life and you're a cross watcher, you may want to watch that reading as well. But you need to, beyond your control is just to go within and decide that next step. I always talk about how the Hermit is not shining a big giant light out towards the future. It's just the next step. It's just, where's the next place my foot needs to land? What is the next step that I need to take? And it looks like you're indecisive about something in that way anyway. So it's beyond your control to just have that time to go within. Maybe try not to do it at night so you're getting some sleep, but you do need to take that time to do it. All right, what is your secret desire, or what are you trying to avoid? Wow, okay. Four of Wands. So I was talking about the Empress making long-term decisions. Is this about, of this is many times our marriage card, and here we are in the month of June. I see this card so much in the last few readings that I've done for in the month of June. So confidence is your key to success. Is this about some sort of decision based on a wedding? It could be your wedding, could be someone else's wedding, it could be that you're planning a wedding. And so either this is your secret desire or you're trying to avoid this. And this could be the decision you're trying to make. Is it time to enter into a marriage, enter into a long-term relationship like this? That's a big decision. So think it through. If that's the decision, if that's in front of you right now, you have to think it through. There's pros and cons, and I feel like in the end, you'll know what the answer is. In your outcome here is the Six of Cups, which is our card of nostalgia. This is about kind of, and I would almost say there might be someone from your past that you need to consult and talk to. And it could just be a family member, but there's something nostalgic here in the ending and your wrap up. You may not make a decision this week, but you're kind of, again, you're looking at your past here with this 9 of wands, and I think that also includes kind of the six, that there's a nostalgia that comes with that you're thinking about old times, and when you were happy, what was going on, what were the good decisions, again, the bad decisions. So don't let this keep you up so much at night. Get your hermit time. Your hermit time doesn't have to be enclosed in a dark room. You can get out and take a walk. Just kind of go commune with nature a little bit while you're making those big decisions. And it just made me think, and not to be funny, but remember Seinfeld, George on the pier with the birds. It just he made this big decision about getting married. So I just had that little flash of that. I'm sorry if that is, I'm not trying to be funny, but that's what I mean is get out in nature. You don't have to be in a dark room making decisions. Okay. What is hidden from you this week is the Emperor. Interesting. So here's the Empress. She is in there, the Emperor, who's our builder and our leader. That is kind of hidden. And maybe you're trying to decide that. Maybe you're just trying to decide, do you want to build something? Do you want that kind of stability? And maybe you do, maybe you don't. It kind of depends on where you are in your life right now, Virgo. That could go either way. All right, let's get a final message here. Let me see if there's anything that I've missed. Confidence is your key to success. We're making some sort of decision that I don't see you getting to even by the end of the week. I feel like this goes on into next week. So, and like tarot readings happen for a week, but life sure doesn't happen that way. So, if you don't reach a conclusion this week, it's fine. This looks like it's a pretty big decision for you. So, all right, Soul Oracle deck for Virgo as they mull this over. Nurture yourself first. So, take care of you. And if that needs to be that's what you focus on right now, then just go ahead and focus on that. Sometimes decisions are made clear just over time. And any kind of decision, you shouldn't feel any pressure. You might be applying that pressure to yourself, and hopefully no one else is applying pressure. If they are, you need to be like, hey, let's back off a minute. Let me think. Let me come to the right decision. All right. What do you need to do in the way of self-care? Self-care for Virgo this week, and the card that you get is called Focus. It says my absolute yes list, like I was talking about, making a list of pros and cons. So if you focus on what you don't want, there's a good chance you might get it. Focus on what you do want instead. That's, of course, awesome advice. That's how we manifest things, is focusing on those things that we really do want, because the things that we don't want can be very, very distracting. So, Virgo, thank you so much for being here. I hope there's some way this reading can come in handy for you in your life this week. Again, I don't even see a real big wrap up for you this week. You're at least, but you're going through it. You're having these deep thoughts. You're going to make these pros and cons lists. Nurture yourself a little bit this week as you're going through this decision making, whatever it might be. If you're comfortable sharing what it is, of course, drop me a comment down below. Or if you have questions, I'd be happy to answer those. And if you like my reading style, please hit like and subscribe because it really helps my channel. I appreciate that so much. But most importantly, it'll help you find me next week, where you can come back and let's see where this energy goes and where this decision making process goes for next week. So thanks so much for being here. Good luck with this, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.